What up, everyone? Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. 2025 is nearing the very end, and this year has been a wild one for me. Gaming wise, it has been pretty good, but in my personal life, it has been one of the worst years, and I've mentioned multiple times in previous videos exactly just how crappy this year was for me. But thankfully, the tail end of it was actually really good. I did find a stable job that I am really enjoying, and I'm now able to start rebuilding my game collection. I am doing a series called the Retro Rebuild that I started about maybe a month or so ago, and I'm going to be going more into that in 2026. I have some huge plans for my channel next year. I want to try and improve on the types of content that I made, work on my editing skills, be able to improve the channel overall and grow it to where I can finally reach the coveted YouTube partnership status. That would be nice, but my main goal for 2026 is to just continue building up my community here. I appreciate everyone that has been supporting me so far. Without your guys' support, I'm not sure if I would have been able to fully make it through this year. I was pretty consistent with content, especially since I had a lot of free time on my hands, being unemployed and all for most of the year. And I started going heavy on the YouTube Shorts, and that's not going to change next year. I'm still going to be doing a lot of YouTube Shorts. That's mainly where you're going to see a lot of the TCG trading card content from me, and maybe a couple other random YouTube Shorts every now and then. But my main long form content going into next year is going to primarily be the Retro Rebuild series that I'm doing, as well as videos where I'm just sharing like interesting facts or just talking about some of my favorite games. But I want to make them be better, and I won't be able to really do that without your guys' help. So feel free to leave any suggestions and feedback in the comments of my videos. I really appreciate that. So with that out of the way, I wanted to share with you guys how 2025 was for me in regards to gaming. I'm also going to briefly cover the Game Awards, which happened about a couple weeks ago. I've finally settled on my thoughts on what happened with the Game Awards, and I'll be talking about that more towards the later end, because that will be a good segue into a future video that I was originally planning to have it be my last video of this year, but that video is actually going to be this video. So yeah, this is going to be the last video that I put out in 2025. After this, I'm going to be taking a short break, probably about 2 or 3 weeks, for the holidays and all that. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and let's go into my gaming journey of 2025. So to start off, I did play a lot of retro games this year. I've beaten quite a bit of games this year. I think maybe around 20 or so, and some of my all-time favorites I shared in my previous video, where I also covered my game of the year, which, if you guys didn't know, it is Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion. This was a very, very hyped up sequel to an amazing game from the Nintendo Switch that was kind of like an Armored Core clone, and now with the new game, it's more like a kind of feels like Xenoblade Chronicles X, even though I haven't really played it. And I ended up really loving it. It's one of my favorite games this year. And I also did recently pick up another copy of Spider-Man 2. I started it like a year ago, and I didn't really finish it, and I ended up having to sell it because I had to sell a lot of my game collection this year due to personal circumstances. But I did find another copy of it while I was in Seattle a couple weeks ago, and I recently finished it. I got to the point where you see here where I'm playing as Venom, and that was just absolutely a heck ton of fun. I really love Insomniac's take on the Spider-Man mythos. I am really loving these games. Spider-Man 2 here is definitely my favorite, with Miles Morales coming in at a close second. And also, a majority of this year, I was getting heavy into Monster Hunter Wilds. That was going to be my game of the year, and if I still had a copy of the game, I would have put it as like number 2, right under Titanic Scion. This game was just, it was very, very addicting. I played it for like almost 70 hours, and I wanted to play a lot more. There's a lot more content with the free title updates and all that. My boy Lagiacrus from Monster Hunter 3 is in the game, and I can't wait to hunt him down. He is one of my favorite monsters of old time. I am a huge Monster Hunter fan. I also dived into the Monster Hunter Stories game on the 3DS this year. Played that for a bit. I want to get more into that game to hype myself up for the new one that's coming out next year, which is surprising because a lot of the games that I'm hyped for that are coming out in 2026 and beyond are from Capcom. We got Pragmata that's coming out next year. Right after my birthday in February, we're getting Resident Evil 9 Requiem. We're also getting Onimusha Way of the Sword. We're getting a new Mega Man Star Force Legacy Collection, as well as a new mainline Mega Man game in 2027 called Dual Override. That was one of the best reveals at the Game Awards this year, in my personal opinion. We're also getting Monster Hunter Stories 3 Twisted Reflection, which is looking to be one of the best games in the story sub-series. And not only that, like, the main protagonist is going to be fully voiced. There's no, like, Navi-Ru character that is, like, the voice of the MC. So, that's going to be a lot of fun. And just the way that the game looks has me fallen in love with it. And it hasn't even come out yet. Right now, I feel like Capcom is killing it. And not to mention, there's also the sequel to Okami. I almost forgot about that. Okami was one game that I started playing this year on the PS2, and I ended up dropping it for a bit, because there's one part where I'm like trying to draw vines onto this log to stop it from going over the waterfall, and it is just not wanting to work right. I ended up rage quitting there, so I may go back to Okami after some time. I tend to do that with some games where I like to get deep into the game, and then there's a part I just get really stuck on, like a boss fight or just like a puzzle or something, and I will end up dropping the game for quite a while, and then I come back, and then just all of a sudden I'm just miraculously skilled enough to be able to beat that segment of the game and be able to continue on. So I'm going to see if that will work with Okami. It is a very beautiful game, even on the PlayStation 2. And the sequel, which was revealed last year at the Game Awards, I was really hoping this year we would get another trailer. So who knows when the sequel to that is coming out, but there's a lot of games that Capcom is putting out in the next few years that I am extremely hyped about. Square Enix would probably be coming in a close second with the Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales, as well as Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, and Final Fantasy Remake Part 3. And then we got Bandai Namco with the Tales remasters, which I hear we might be getting every single Tales game as part of the remaster project. So the 2 years that they said that this remaster project was going to go on for may seem like it's going to expand into maybe 3 or more years, and they are working on multiple remasters. And this year gave us 2 remasters of 2 Tales games from the PS3 that I never had a chance to play, because when I had a PS3, I just wasn't really into JRPGs that year. And I'll be talking about those in a little bit. But there was one game that I have never talked about that I regret not making a full video on, and that's for the gameplay that you're seeing right now. One of my childhood games, one of my favorites on the PS1 is Croc Legend of the Gobos. And this year, Argonaut Games came back out of nowhere. One of the original founding members of Argonaut Games brought the company back, and they started off with a full remake / remaster for Croc Legend of the Gobos. And this game was a lot of fun. The modern controls compared to the PS1's tank controls, which just felt very awkward for a 3D platformer, now feels more like a modern 3D platformer. And I don't play a whole lot of 3D platformers nowadays. Some of the more recent ones that I have played would be this Croc remake / remaster. It definitely feels more like a remaster than a full-on remake. Yeah, they did build this game from the ground up, in a sense, but it still feels like the old Croc game, just now with modern controls and some updated visuals. And I'm really looking forward to what other future projects, I don't know why I can't speak right now, that Argonaut Games has in store for us. I would love to see them bring back Croc 2 and maybe even give us a Croc 3 and maybe even expand into some new IPs. So who knows? This game was definitely one of my favorites that I played this year, and I regret not talking about it sooner. Who knows? I will probably be bringing this game up again in a future video. I have so many ideas for videos that I would love to bring to fruition for you guys to enjoy. So hopefully 2026 will allow me some time to truly dive into my bag of ideas and give you guys some worthwhile content to watch. So with that out of the way, I also want to talk about those 2 Tales games that I mentioned a little bit ago, that being Tales of Graces F and Tales of Xillia Remastered. Now, I haven't really dived too much into Xillia, but Graces F, which came out all the way back in January, I stopped everything that I was playing to play this game, and I do not regret diving all the way into Graces F. It is one of the best games that I played this year, and yes, it is a remaster, but to me, it felt more like a new game because I never got to play Graces F on the PS3. I just wasn't really into the PS3 lineup of JRPGs when I did briefly have a PSP for a little while. And this game is absolutely amazing. I did make a video on my first impressions of the game, and I have brought up Tales of Graces F multiple times, and I probably will bring it up again in the future. Who knows? This game is just that good, and I fully now realize why everyone in the Tales community loves Graces F so much. The characters are well developed, the story is intriguing, the combat is some of the best in the series, the visuals look absolutely amazing, and I would love to be able to see more games in the Tales series like this. I did kind of enjoy Tales of Arise. It was a okay game in my opinion, but it's not my favorite. It's barely making it into my top favorites for the Tales series. And yeah, I was so glad that this was the first game in the Tales of 30th Anniversary Remaster project. I was kind of upset that it took them forever to announce Tales of Xillia, but I'm still excited to go more into that. Right now, I won't be going into Tales of Xillia now that I beat Spider-Man 2. I did recently pick up Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and I am going to be diving into that. That is like almost everyone's favorite game from this year. It won a whole bunch of awards at the Game Awards, which is a good way for me to segment into my thoughts on the Game Awards this year. Now, I felt like the award show side of things was kind of more of an afterthought. We had Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, and Clair Obscur Expedition 33 lead as like the set. When I mean lead, they were like half of the nominations for the Game of the Year at the Game Awards, and all three of them are indie games. So there was a lot of indie game presence at the Game Awards this year. A lot of the reveals were from smaller studios, which more power to them. I personally need to start diving more into a lot of the indie games. There's a lot of them that I really want to play, and the Game Awards revealed a lot of them, but there was also a lot of them that just proved to me that there are certain game genres that are just oversaturated. But I'm going to be diving into that in a future video that will be coming out early next year. It will probably be one of the first videos that I put out in January 2026. So stay tuned for that if you guys really want to look forward to what I have to say about that topic. I promise you that video will actually be coming. I know I say a lot of times that I'm going to be saving certain things for future videos, and then just all of a sudden I decide to make a video that's on a completely different topic. I have a really bad habit of doing that, and that's one of my plans for next year, is to just be more consistent with myself on my ideas and just not put out spontaneous videos. But yeah, back to the Game Awards, because I just got off on a little tangent there. The award show, overall, the show was it just felt very mediocre. There were some really good moments here and there. The orchestra at the end that they always do is one of the best parts, other than some of the game reveals, and there were some really good ones. There's a couple new Star Wars games coming out. There's this one indie game called Tank Rats, which looks pretty interesting. There's one called Bradley the Badger that a good friend of mine gleamed onto, and it looks like a really nice 3D platformer, like a puzzle platformer, I believe, that plays like homage to some other games, because in the reveal trailer they had like a parody of Cyberpunk 2027, as well as a couple other games like the Soulsborne games and whatnot. So I just wasn't really a huge fan of how the Game Awards was presented this year. I obviously knew going in that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was going to sweep the awards. It won 9 awards, which was absolutely crazy. I mean, this game well deserved it. Every single thing I've heard about this game made me truly believe that it really did deserve all those awards. Now, yes, it is coming under some controversy after the fact that it was using some generative AI in the very beginning, but it's for background details. Stuff that you're not really going to see or even really care about, and even so, it got patched out like after a month or two when it was released, so playing it now, I'm not really going to be seeing any generative AI usage in the game. But yeah, and it's just crazy how the Clair Obscur Expedition 33 ended up being this year. It was one game that I've been looking for all year, and luckily I managed to find a copy. I walked into another castle out in Marysville last weekend, and they just happened to have a copy for sale. So I was like, why the heck not? I was hoping to get this game for Christmas this year, and I did. And I got a couple other games that I will probably be sharing with in a YouTube short, or I'll probably just save for my next pickups video, which will be sometime in a few months. I'm going to be taking a little break on the retro rebuild, which is what my game hunting and game pickups videos are going to be for. So I won't be doing any like game hunting / pickup videos that are outside of the retro rebuild. So just keep in mind, retro rebuild is just the title that I've given to a for my series where I'm rebuilding my game collection. I'm with a heavy focus on retro games, primarily games that I could get for on a budget. I'm not really looking to spend more than like maybe $50 on a single game, and any of the heavy hitter Holy Grail games will be obtained via flipping trading cards or other items in my collection, or just finding games that I may end up not really enjoying after playing, and then trading those in to get some games that I truly want to have. So my collection is going to be heavily curated. I will end up picking up games that, who knows, after I start playing it, I may feel like it's not really for me, then trade it in to find games that I do really want to have in my collection. So that's my plan for the retro rebuild. As for the rest of this video, it is coming up towards the end of, well, I'm starting to kind of run out of thoughts of what I wanted to say, but 2025, albeit personally it wasn't one of the greatest years ever, but this year, gaming wise, I got into my very first Trails game with The Legend of Naive to Boundless Trails. I dived into Street Fighter 6 and I ended up really enjoying it. I got into a bunch of retro games. I finally finished Xenosaga Episode 3 and Wild Arms 5, which I started last year. I've beaten around 20 different games. I beat Summon Night Twin Age, one of the very first DS RPGs that I've beaten. I finally, after 20 some odd long years, I finally beat Rayman, one of the hardest platformers ever, which I started playing that game on the PS1. I played the DS version on my 3DS, which was a DSiWare download, and I finally beat that game. I absolutely love it. I am planning on doing a future video dedicated to the Rayman series, because that series is very special to me. And just overall, I really did enjoy a lot of the games that I played this year. I even started a third playthrough of Star Ocean Second Story R, but this time I'm playing as Reina, the female lead of the game. I always go with Claude, because he's one of my favorite characters in all of video games. And I also finished my second playthrough of Tales of the Abyss. And I'm definitely planning on starting up a third playthrough in 2026, because that's something I want to do, because it's one of my favorite games of all time. And don't even get me started on anime this year. That is a whole other load for me to get into. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling on here quite a bit about this entire year. And with that, I'm Mecho Taku Gamer again, and I'm going to see you guys in 2026. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I hope you guys get to enjoy this time of the year with your friends, your loved ones, your family, and all that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.